The ship moved through the dark ocean of stars like a silver blade cutting the void. The alien crew worked in silence. Every sound was soft, clean and perfect. Then there was the human Emma Grant. She was humming softly in the kitchen module, wearing a simple apron and a smile the aliens did not understand. Humans always made noise. They hummed, they tapped. They talked to things that could not talk back. Emma was doing exactly that, while holding a round fruit in her hand, an apple red, shiny and innocent. Emma had been on the starship only 3 weeks. She was assigned as cultural liaison to teach human habits and maybe help the aliens understand Earth life. She thought the best way to start was with something sweet, something warm, something that smelled like home, so she decided to bake a pie. She looked around the alien food bay. It was full of metal machines, glowing panels, and nutrition packs sealed in silver containers. Everything was sterile. Everything had numbers, no colors, no smells, no life. She opened her little human case and smiled at the ingredients she had hidden from the bio-inspection. Apples, flour, butter, sugar, cinnamon, all packed neatly in small bags. She set them on the counter, ready to start. But the moment she opened the bag of flour, the ship screamed, red lights burst alive, alarms roared from every wall. Metallic voices shouted in the alien tongue. Emma froze, white dust floating in the air around her like ghost smoke. Then she heard the voice of the ship's artificial mind. Biohazard detected, unknown toxin level, fatal quarantine initiated. The doors sealed with a heavy hiss. Security drones dropped from the ceiling, glowing eyes fixed on Emma, their claws ready to strike. The intercom opened, and the deep voice of Dr. Threx. The ship's chief medic thundered through. Humans, step away from the substance. Do not move. Breathe slowly. We are analyzing the contamination. Emma blinked, confused, her fingers still covered in flour. She raised her hands. What contamination? This is flour wheat, you know, for baking, she said, trying to laugh, but no one laughed back. The air shimmered as the decontamination field activated, burning blue light across the room. Within seconds, Dr. Threx arrived, his tall body wrapped in a clear biosuit. His silver eyes glowing behind the glass, his 4 hands held scanners, each humming at different tones. He pointed one at the apple. It screamed, warning, fatal organic toxin. Emma looked at him and said, "It is just fruit, a normal apple." Dr. Threx tilted his head, the device reading spikes in acidity, unknown spores and trace levels of natural cyanide compounds. He gasped. The word cyanide spread like fire through the comms. The aliens panicked. One of the engineers shouted, "The human carries biological weapons." Another yelled, "She is a living biohazard." They backed away from the door. The captain's voice echoed through the ship. "Isolate the human, no contact until further review." Emma stood alone, her pie dream dying fast. She could see, through the window of the sealed door, the alien crew staring at her, wide eyes full of fear and curiosity. She sighed. This was not how she planned her first baking lesson, Dr. Threx began his inspection. Every reading confused him. The butter registered as volatile fat compound. The sugar was labeled reactive crystalline carbon. The cinnamon gave off chemical alarms for irritant spore particles. The scanner flashed more warnings: fatal contact, fatal inhalation, fatal ingestion. He whispered, "Impossible. How does she survive this exposure?" Emma tried to explain again. "It is food, you eat it. It is not dangerous. See?" She picked up a piece of apple and took a bite. The alien screamed in horror, thinking she had just poisoned herself. But she smiled, chewing calmly, and said, "See, delicious." The AI spoke again. Warning, biological anomaly detected, human immune response, unregistered hazard potential extreme. Dr. Threx looked between her and the scanner, unable to decide if she was a miracle or a monster. Minutes later, the captain arrived, tall skin like glass reflecting light. He studied Emma through the transparent barrier and said, "Your species consumes these toxins for energy." She nodded, a little sheepish. "Yes, and we call it dessert." The captain turned to Dr. Threx in disbelief. "Prepare a full report if this is true. Humans may be the most resistant life form we have encountered." Emma sighed again. She never liked attention. She just wanted something warm and sweet, something that smelled like home. She did not expect it would start a biocrisis. The ship's logs later recorded that this was the first time the galactic bioscanner failed to classify human food properly. The report called it Event Zero culinary contamination. Emma called it misunderstanding and hunger. As the lights dimmed and the alarms faded, she sat on the floor in the sealed room, her hands dusted with flour, her hair a little messy, the apple core beside her. She whispered to herself, maybe next time cookies would be safer. But deep down she smiled, because even if they did not understand, someday they would taste what home felt like. Outside the sealed room, Dr. Threx looked at the readings again, his mind racing with questions. How could a creature treat poison as comfort? How could danger smell so good? He pressed the recorder and spoke in a quiet voice. The human Emma Grant might not be a danger, she might be the key to understanding life itself. He looked through the glass at her small human smile glowing softly under the red quarantine light, and for the first time he wondered if fear was simply ignorance wrapped in science, and maybe the human was not the threat. Maybe she was the cure. The next morning the ship was still in lockdown. The corridors glowed with red quarantine lights, the crew whispered as they passed each other, afraid to even say the human's name. Emma sat inside her sealed kitchen, watching through the glass wall as scientists in suits scanned the air around her. Every few seconds a soft beep echoed, followed by muttered alien words and more confusion. Dr. Threx stood outside surrounded by assistants. His eyes locked on the readings. Every chemical marker made less sense than the last. The air near the human was rich with compounds that normally meant death spores, toxins, volatile sugars, and mild acids. Yet the human was calm, alive, smiling, even humming again. He turned to his assistant and said, "It has been 16 hours. The subject remains unharmed. She continues to inhale toxic gas and consume contaminated material. How is she still alive?" The assistant shook his head and said, "Maybe her species adapted to death." Inside the room, Emma had made herself busy. She cleaned the counters, rearranged her ingredients, and tried to ignore the flashing signs above her head. Biological risk, fatal exposure, pending decontamination. She sighed. If they just listened, she thought maybe they would understand. Through the speaker, Dr. Threx's voice came soft but serious. "Human Emma Grant, I need to know your process. You said you were going to create something called Pi. Describe the sequence of events in full." Emma smiled a little. At least he was asking. She started step by step, explaining how she mixed flour and butter to make crust, how sugar and apples mixed to make filling. She even described the cinnamon and how it made everything smell like warmth. As she talked, Dr. Threx's scanners kept alarming. The flour reacted as oxidizer. The butter released lipid fumes. The sugar melted into reactive carbon chains, and the cinnamon generated unknown airborne stimulants. Threx could not believe it. He whispered to himself, "She is building a biochemical weapon." The captain joined him, watching the feed from the security glass. "Is she dangerous?" he asked quietly. Threx hesitated, his eyes flicking between the readings and the human face behind the glass. "She does not seem to understand danger," he said slowly. "She believes this process creates comfort rather than harm." The captain frowned. "Comfort from toxins? Absurd. Prepare containment team Alpha. If this Pi breaches quarantine, I want the ship vented." Emma saw their serious faces and sighed loudly. She picked up the small round metal tray and said, "Do you want me to show you how it works? Maybe if you see it, you will stop thinking I am trying to kill everyone." The captain's voice came through, cold and firm. "You will not proceed human until we understand the reaction." Emma rolled her eyes. "You mean baking?" Dr. Threx hesitated. Again, part of him wanted to see what would happen. Every reading told him disaster, but his curiosity burned brighter than fear. He whispered to the captain, "Perhaps we let her continue under observation. If she dies, we learn something. If she survives, we learn more." "Permission granted," said the captain. "Just do not let her blow up my ship." The drones floated closer, projecting containment fields around the kitchen. Blue light shimmered in the air like a glass dome. Emma stood in the middle, holding her apple slices and laughing softly. She whispered, "My grandma would think this is hilarious." She began working again, mixing, stirring, rolling, flattening the dough while the scanner screamed, The sound filled the hallways, making crew members cover. Their ears she hummed louder, drowning the alarms, her voice calm, warm, alive.
Then something unexpected happened. The air vent started to fill with a smell. Soft, sweet, rich. It drifted through the corridors, reaching the noses of every alien on board. They froze, confused, their sensors recorded a strange reaction. Heart rates rose, brain chemicals shifted, serotonin spikes, dopamine release, the AI core. 7 spoke across the ship, unknown airborne substance causing mild euphoric response, recommend evacuation, doctor. Threx lifted his helmet visor just enough to take one cautious breath. His eyes widened, his voice shook. It smells beautiful, Captain, I feel light. The captain blinked, confused. You what? Inside the dome. Emma smiled. See, not poison, just pie smell. The AI disagreed. Odor components, unknown, classified as mood-altering. Agents. Dr. Threx ignored it. His scanner said danger, but his body said peace. He pressed his palm to the glass, watching the human shape moving through the mist of warmth and sugar. When the timer on her small oven beeped, she opened it. The golden crust shone under the sterile light, steam curling like a living thing. The smell grew stronger. The ship seemed to breathe with it. The captain grabbed the railing, his mind foggy. This is affecting the whole crew. Shut down ventilation now, the AI responded. Too late, sir. Air filtration compromised. Compound has reached 97% spread. Dr. Threx laughed softly. Not madness, not weapon, but wonder. The captain turned sharply. Wonder you call this wonder? My ship is intoxicated. Threx replied quietly. Maybe that is the point. Maybe humans evolved to weaponize happiness. Emma placed the pie on the table, smiling at her reflection in the containment glass. She looked tired but proud. This is what home smells like, she said softly. Dr. Threx whispered. Record that statement word for word. He looked at the captain, then back at Emma, and said, Human, tomorrow you will demonstrate ingestion protocol. She blinked at him. What eating, you mean? Eating pie? Yes. He nodded slowly with witnesses. Emma smiled, sure. I will bake another one. The captain sighed heavily, watching her through the glass. Maybe he thought the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy was not built in labs or forged in fire. Maybe it was baked in butter and sugar and human memory. The ship fell silent again. The alarms gone, replaced by a faint sweet smell of apple and cinnamon floating in the recycled air. Every alien aboard could feel it, a strange warmth inside their cold bodies. Something ancient, something they had no word for. The following day, the ship's laboratory looked like a war room. Every screen showed streams of human chemical data. Every drone buzzed around collecting air and surface samples. The crew stood far away from the containment chamber, afraid to even look at the human food still sealed inside the transparent dome. Dr. Threx had not slept. His eyes glowed faintly from the light of the monitors, his mind torn between terror and fascination. He spoke softly to the ship's AI core, 7 run. Another analysis. Compare the compounds in the human mixture to known biological weapons. Core 7's voice filled the lab. Calm and metallic processing result. Inconclusive, several matches found, but none lethal to humans or most species. Conclusion undefined, Dr. Threx rubbed his temples. Undefined was the worst word in science. He turned to his assistant. Bring up yesterday's footage, the moment she mixed sugar with butter. The screen replayed Emma's hands, moving in slow motion, the golden mixture swirling. Under the light, the scanners had screamed then too, detecting unstable molecular bonds, yet the reaction looked peaceful, even graceful. He stared for a long time, whispering to himself. Maybe this is what they call art across the room. The captain watched. With folded arms, the crew behind him tense and silent. He spoke without emotion. Doctor, you are risking containment protocol. We should eject that entire lab. Threx looked up sharply and said with respect, Captain, this is the most fascinating biological event I have ever seen if she can neutralize known toxins through ingestion that could change galactic medicine forever. The captain frowned, or end it forever. He muttered quietly, inside her room. Emma was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, humming. Again, she had drawn small faces on the sealed food packs to pass the time when the speaker buzzed. She jumped. Dr. Threx's voice came through human Emma Grant. You will now describe your species' thermal reaction process in detail. She blinked, confused. You mean baking in the oven? Yes, the process of weapon heating? He replied. She laughed out loud. Weapon heating, that is new. Listen, it is just like warming something until it tastes right. Threx typed the words rapidly, warming until taste, achieved the AI, read the phrase, and said, unclear definition of taste, possible code for chemical fusion. Threx replied, mark for deeper. Study. Emma looked at the camera above her head, shaking her head. If only you could try it, you would understand, she said softly. Threx froze at those words. Try it, he repeated quietly. No alien had ever tasted a human dish. It was forbidden under contamination law, yet something in her tone made him wonder what if understanding required more than data. He ordered the AI to run a virtual simulation of human cooking. A holographic projection appeared in the lab, showing step by step what happened inside an oven, molecules colliding, fusing, breaking, forming new bonds. The system processed the data, and the AI spoke conclusion. Human cooking process involves complex oxidative combustion similar to low-level industrial weaponry reaction controlled by emotional input. Variable emotional input. Threx repeated, yes said. The AI human emotional state appears to influence chemical stability during cooking. Threx stared wide-eyed. You mean her feelings change the chemistry? The AI replied, correct. This may explain inconsistencies in readings, he whispered, astonishing. Her emotion shapes molecular behavior. He turned toward the window where Emma sat smiling to herself, and for the first time he saw her not as a contamination risk, but as a living mystery. The captain walked closer. Doctor, what have you found? Threx answered quietly. I think the human controls chemistry through intent. The captain frowned. Intent is not measurable. Threx nodded. That is what makes it terrifying. Sudden alert cut the room short. The AI spoke. Contamination spike from containment field. Internal temperature rising. Unknown reaction. Detected. Everyone turned toward the dome. Emma had found a small portable oven and had started heating another pie. The scanners flashed red. The captain shouted, shut it down now. Threx stopped him. Wait! Let it happen! His voice full of awe. Inside the dome. Emma moved calmly, the crust rising, the sweet smell leaking through invisible seams. The lights flickered as the AI's sensors overloaded, unable to classify the compound patterns. Threx whispered again, this is no toxin. This is emotion given form. The captain backed away, clutching his head. He felt dizzy, light-headed, his heart beating faster. The AI reported elevated serotonin across all decks, chemical influence spreading. Threx smiled slightly. It is working. She is stabilizing the crews. Stress levels through scent modulation. When the oven dinged soft and cheerful, the alarms went silent for the first time in hours. Everyone stared. The smell wrapped the room in invisible warmth. Even the AI hesitated before speaking chemical threat. Assessment, 0 status. Emotional harmony detected. Dr. Threx removed his helmet, took a cautious breath, and closed his eyes. A feeling washed over him, something he had never known. Comfort, peace, and strange longing, he whispered to himself. So this is what she meant by home. Emma looked up at the camera and grinned. See, not dangerous, right? Just pie. The captain slowly lowered his weapon, his voice softer than before. Perhaps danger is relative. Threx turned back to the screens, recording every moment. This was history. The first peaceful contamination event in galactic record and the beginning of something the universe had never seen before. The next cycle began with silence. No alarms, no flashing red lights, only a faint scent of sweetness still. Clinging to the recycled air, the crew moved carefully, whispering as they worked. Some still wore respirators, even though the scanners now read safe air levels. The captain stood by the observation window, arms folded, his reflection sharp against the glass, watching the human inside her sealed room. Emma was kneading dough again. Calm and steady, her hands covered in white dust. Her lips moving to some quiet human tune, Dr. Threx entered, carrying a stack of data pads, his silver eyes bright with exhaustion. He had been awake for 2 full rotations, yet he looked alive, more alive than anyone on the ship, Captain. He began softly. The crew is divided, half want. The human deported, half want to understand her. The captain replied coldly, understanding leads to infection. Threx smiled faintly. Or evolution, sir. The captain said nothing, just stared through the glass. Inside the chamber, Emma was shaping her new pie. She had lost count how many times they stopped her from finishing. This time she ignored the hovering drones. She wanted to make something perfect, something that would show them what warmth meant. Dr. Threx pressed the comm switch. Human Emma Grant, the council requests proof of safety. She looked up. Proof, you mean taste? He nodded carefully. Yes, the crew believes that to confirm harmlessness, ingestion test is required. She blinked. Are you serious? You want to eat it? No, he said calmly. Not me. The council representative will decide. She sighed, shaking her head. Aliens afraid of fruit. Never thought I would see the day. The captain spoke through the speaker. Human, you will prepare 1 sample under direct observation. Any sign of hostile reaction will lead to termination of experiment, understood. She saluted, half joking. Yes, sir, I will try not to destroy the galaxy. She began the process again. The flour, the butter, the sugar, each movement graceful, deliberate. The scanners screamed less now, perhaps learning that fear was useless. Dr. Threx took notes, whispering chemical transformation, stable human emotional levels, consistent. She works with precision. The AI added human heart rate, low breathing pattern, soothing. Dr. Threx smiled. Maybe she is teaching the ship to relax when she placed the pie in the oven. The captain leaned forward. Suspicious. What is happening now? Threx answered simply, Transformation, sir. This is where chaos becomes comfort. The captain muttered, poets should not be scientists. As the minutes passed, a faint hum filled the lab. The scent spread again, softer, sweeter, less chaotic. This time the AI spoke in a lower tone, atmospheric change minimal but beneficial, measurable increase in crew mood index by 12%. Dr. Threx whispered, she is healing them and does not even know. When the timer beeped, Emma pulled the pie out, golden shining steam curling like a living cloud. The room lights flickered, the scanners calmed 1 by 1, no danger detected. The captain stared silently, no alarms, no toxins, just smell. Threx nodded, the smell of life. Emma looked through the glass, smiling gently now. Who wants to taste it? Everyone froze, even the AI paused before speaking. 1 volunteer required. The captain turned to Threx and said, your curiosity created this problem. You taste it? He shook his head. If I die, you lose your only xenobiologist? The captain grunted, fine. Then I will choose the fool myself. He looked at the crowd. Dr. Threx expected silence, but one voice spoke softly. I will. Every head turned. The speaker was Lieutenant Raal, youngest on the crew, thin, nervous, always precise. Now stepping forward, his hands trembling slightly, he said, if we fear what we do not know, we stay blind forever. The captain hesitated, then nodded. Prepare him the medical. Drones moved fast, wrapping Raal in protective layers connecting monitors. Threx handed him a fork from a sterilized tray. Raal approached the containment gate, which slid open only enough for the plate to pass through. Emma smiled warmly and placed the pie slice on it. "Careful, it is hot," she said. He nodded silently. He took the bite slowly. The crew held their breath. The scanners blinked red once, then yellow, then green. His pupils dilated. Heart rate spiked. And then something strange happened. He began to laugh soft at first, then louder tears in his eyes. Dr. Threx checked the readings. No pain, no poisoning, only a surge of endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, the body translating joy. The captain took a step back, eyes wide. "What is happening to him?" Threx replied simply. "He feels," Rael lowered the fork voice. "Shaking it tastes like sunlight." He whispered, like childhood memories, like home. Emma smiled through the glass. "Told you not poison, just pie." The AI spoke vital signs, optimal, elevated, emotional. Resonance across network. The captain looked around the lab. The crew were smiling too, without knowing why. Dr. Threx pressed record and said official log, human culinary process, confirmed, safe effect, emotional enhancement, potential, galactic, therapeutic. Application to be investigated. He turned to the captain, "Sir, permission to conduct further tests." The captain exhaled heavily, rubbing his forehead. "If you call it pie again, I might approve," he muttered. Emma sat down behind the glass. Exhausted, but happy, she whispered to herself. Maybe now they will stop treating sugar like a supernova. Threx watched her for a long moment before turning off the recorder. His voice soft with awe. Perhaps the most dangerous thing about humans is not their strength, not their fire, but their kindness turned into chemistry. The lab lights dimmed as the ship moved quietly through the stars. The crew calm for the first time in cycles. No alarms, no fear. Only the fading scent of apple and cinnamon drifting like a memory that refused to die. The moment of silence that followed felt endless, every alien eye fixed on Lieutenant Raal as he stood trembling, fork still in hand. A small piece of pie, gone from the plate's steam, curling like a ghost above it. His heart. Monitor sang quick rhythmic beeps that echoed across the lab. No one moved. No one breathed. Then Raal laughed again. Not a forced sound, but something light and strange. His face open with joy. Dr. Threx leaned forward, scanning the data, his mind racing. Impossible. There is no toxin, no pain. Signal only pleasure. His voice shook, almost reverent. The human food is rewriting his chemical balance. Emma grinned through the glass arms. "Cross told you," she said softly. But no one heard her. They were all watching Raal like he was touching a star. The captain stepped forward slowly, eyes narrowing Lieutenant report. "What are you experiencing?" Raal took a shaky breath. The words came uneven, like he was afraid they might vanish if he stopped tasting it. "Sir, it feels warm, but not physical warmth. It feels like I am standing somewhere bright." He looked down at the plate, like there was a memory trapped in it. "Like I know what comfort is, even though I never did before." The lab filled with murmurs. The crew exchanging stunned glances. The AI Core 7 processed data faster than ever. Each chemical trace analyzed, each emotional response charted it. Spoke finally, voice softer than usual. Subject shows enhanced serotonin production, stable cardiac rhythm, and temporary suppression of fear. Response, Dr. Threx whispered. So she baked happiness into matter. Emma laughed, hearing that through the speaker. "I like that headline. Happiness in a crust." The captain frowned, still cautious. Could this be manipulation? Chemical hypnosis? Threx shook his head. "Doubtful, sir. I think it is something older, deeper." He turned toward the glass. The human is sharing a memory through flavor. Emma tilted her head. "You make it sound like magic," she said gently. Threx replied, "Maybe it is." Rael took another bite. Tears in his eyes, the scanner lights pulsed brighter. The crew leaned closer, unable to resist curiosity. Dr. Threx stepped closer too. Eyes wide, the scent seemed stronger now, filling the air with something invisible yet tangible, he whispered. It resonates with emotion. The captain felt a twinge in his chest. His heartbeat quickened his thoughts, slowing. He whispered, "What is that smell doing to us?" Threx glanced at the readouts. Serotonin spikes all across the deck. "Sir, even the AI is showing latency. Core 7 confirmed I am experiencing elevated empathic subroutines." Emma smiled. "Maybe you all just needed dessert, Doctor." Threx turned on his recorder. Official note: human culinary activity classified as emotional. Catalyst capable of cross-species, psychological synchronization, potential therapeutic tool, or weapon pending classification. The captain looked at him sharply. "Weapon?" Threx nodded quietly. "Imagine, sir, if one human dish can calm an entire ship, imagine what a meal could do to an army." The captain went silent, the idea both frightening and beautiful. Meanwhile, Rael finished the slice, his hands trembling from joy, not from pain. He whispered, "Thank you," through the glass. Emma pressed her hand against. "It's smiling, you are welcome," she said softly. But then the AI's voice cut through the calm, warning, sudden heart rate elevation in subject Rael. His eyes widened, the monitors beeped faster. Everyone froze. Dr. Threx rushed forward, scanning him, but then Rael gasped and laughed again, even louder, saying, "I feel alive," before collapsing to his knees. Not from weakness, but from something overwhelming. His hands shaking. He whispered again and again. "It is beautiful." Dr. Threx looked at the captain, desperate, not from fear, but from awe. "Sir, his body cannot process this much emotion. It is too pure," the captain shouted. "Shut it down! Get him out of there!" The drones grabbed Rael, dragging him to the medbay, his laughter echoing behind them. Emma's face fell. "Worried, is he okay?" Dr. Threx looked back at her, breathless. "Yes, he is fine. He is just overwhelmed. Your food has awakened dormant neural pathways. This is unprecedented." She sighed in relief, then smiled again. "Told you it is good for the soul." Hours later, the medbay reported Rael stable, sleeping peacefully. Still smiling in his rest, the captain visited him silently, the young officer's face calm, like he was dreaming something too good to share. The captain turned to Dr. Threx quietly. "I saw fear fade from my crew in one bite. That is not science, that is miracle." Dr. Threx replied, "Miracles are just science. We do not understand yet." He looked through the glass again at the human woman now sitting quietly beside her oven, her eyes tired but peaceful. Core 7 interrupted with a message. "Data complete analysis result. Human baking produces psychochemical bonds linked directly to emotion, memory, and warmth. Captain recommended further contact to understand source of anomaly." The captain stared at the glowing screen and said, "Maybe we do not study her. Maybe we learn from her." That evening, Emma sat alone in the sealed chamber, writing on a scrap of paper an old human habit. She whispered to herself, "Maybe tomorrow I will bake for everyone outside." The chamber, the crew gathered, whispering to each other, not in fear anymore, but in curiosity. One said, "Maybe it is safe." Another said, "Maybe it tastes like love." Dr. Threx smiled softly as he walked past them, whispering under his breath, "Perhaps the galaxy's first lesson from humanity is not survival, but sweetness." And as the starship glided through the quiet sea of stars, the scent of apple pie lingered long after the ovens cooled, drifting through metal halls like an echo of Earth, reminding everyone that sometimes the smallest human act can shake the universe. News travels fast in space, faster than light, faster than truth, within 2 standard cycles. Every major science hub across the galactic network had heard of the human who baked. toxins and made people smile. They called her the cook of chaos, the sweet alchemist, the emotional engineer, but Emma Grant just called herself a girl who missed home. The ship's communication bay buzzed with requests. Scientists, historians, military, strategists all wanted samples of what they now called Compound E for emotion. Dr. Threck spent hours sorting the messages, his eyes hollow from sleepless wonder. Captain Varick stood behind him.